All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for
Fruits Basket, Season 2, Episode 18.
All right, last couple of episodes have been really, really good.
Yep, they have been.
This episode, though, we've been given a warning.
Yeah.
A trigger warning.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's the first time that's happened for this show.
Yeah, this was something that the show probably brought up for the first time, really, in our channel's history. It brought up the idea of stories that basically focus on abuse, and that's not necessarily something that we want to go in blind to. We would rather basically be aware that the story is going to cover that, and then we can be properly emotionally prepared for it, not because we can't handle the content, but because if we're not ready for it, it could ruin our day.
Oh yeah.
It could ruin our day. Like we I would say have a promise that is given to basically y'all in the audience here, that we will give genuine reactions.
Exactly.
Which means that when we see something, we're going to explore the feelings that come from that.
Right.
And that means sometimes that we're not going to like the feelings that come from the things that we get.
Yeah, like I can definitely remember some times just throughout, the channel's history where something happens in a show and it's like, oh man, I was not emotionally ready for that. I was not emotionally ready for that.
And not just the like, oh, I'm crying, like this feels strongly, but like, oh, I feel sick now. Like
exactly. There's the crying and the sadness and the big sad and all that stuff where it's cathartic, right? It's a it's a form release. Of processing and release. Yeah, exactly. But then there's
and this can range from Wonder Egg priority
well, yeah,
to some of the stuff we've gotten in Fruits Basket.
Right, and yeah, Fruits Basket, for as wonderfully wholesome as it is, it also has some of the most uncomfortable shit that I've seen in anime. Because it reels you in. Yeah, it really does. You get so emotionally invested in these characters. The wholesome stuff is like the
salve.
Well, the salve, but also the lulling you into a false sense of security, right? It's the bait,
That's bait,
right? Yeah. Got us in the first half. I'm not gonna lie, right? Yeah. And then, of course, the stinger comes in, the heavy stuff that is dealt with, and sometimes the prep is in a previous episode, and then you have something where an entire episode is just pain, and that's why I've really appreciated it recently, how it'll be like, no, not too much pain at any one time, happy, pain, happy, just to
and then every once in a while they're just like little happy pain,
right? Exactly. And this does feel about right that it would be this episode, because we've had a lot of happy.
We've had a lot of happy.
And there's that part of me that doesn't trust when things get too happy.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Oh boy.
We don't know what kind of trauma we're about to get.
We have ideas, like theories.
We have theories in our mind. Yeah. But yeah, we're ready to see the story advance. I particularly think that Toru is going to experience a lot of pain this episode.
I can see that.
I think she's been set up in such a way to where she could see a bunch of dominoes just I could also see this being a Yuki focused episode.
I could see that.
A lot of this season has been Yuki focused, and it's because in a lot of ways he's grown so much since season 1 that we're now seeing him act within a lot of that growth, and then thus he comes up against new struggles that he has to overcome here.
Yep, new battles with Akito or something like that. Yeah.
But yeah, we are on a hot streak.
Indeed.
Let's see where things might get derailed.
The speed bump's coming. Like, okay.
Yeah. So hopefully we don't brace our necks so much that we get like, back pain and, snap. But y'all, without further ado, let's get into this. All right, everyone, now be sure to go check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below, then come back here for the discussion. Reen backstory. Okay. We now understand her almost perfectly, I would say. A lot of what's going on with her is now tied back to the fact that her parents, or the people fulfilling the role as parents, we're not entirely sure about that whole thing, given there was some mysterious stuff going on there. Rejected her, didn't want her, beat her, abused her, and then abandoned her.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
That tracks.
Yeah.
That absolutely makes sense.
And the thing is, the fact that they abandoned her, oh God, I am so glad that they did that.
Yep.
Because while of course it causes all kinds of emotional trauma for Rin, in addition to everything that's already happened, they are not
they're not fit to be
they are not fit to be parents, and they are not able to use their technical role of being parents to prolong any of this madness.
Yeah, they
right?
should not be given, they should be stripped of all dominion, authority, what have you, over her life in any way, shape, or manner.
I wish that happened with a lot more of the parents in this show.
That's basically the theme of this story, if you will, is that family is a thing that can be a wonderfully beautiful thing, but most of the time it's actually not. And a lot of the times there's things going on underneath the surface that are really, really painful for the kids.
And in this situation, there's a supernatural reason to exacerbate the already potential complicated or unhealthy family dynamics that could exist. Because Zodiac members and all of that stuff, right? Okay, cool. Yeah. The fact that it wasn't straightforward abuse, it was straight up abuse. It wasn't straightforward abuse, right? Because they did the thing of the no, everything is fine, right? And that, I'm sure, probably came from a genuine sense of care. They even said as much when the mom blew up at her. And that is so similar to what Toru does. That man, I 100% believe and buy and everything. Like it makes perfect sense why Rin reacts so viscerally to seeing Toru. It's not because Toru looks similar to her mom, because she doesn't really. You know, not really.
No.
But no, the approach that they have to things is eerily similar.
Eerily similar,
right?
Yeah.
And I love that, because it helps to reinforce not just why Rin is this way, but how important it is that Toru's whole situation be addressed and dealt with and worked on. Because
and that's where a lot of the show's focus is that's a slow process that's evolving as she grows and learns how to be in relationships.
And I would love for her to have a heart-to-heart with Rin if Rin ends up feeling comfortable about that, because that could be a very crisp way for Toru to realize just how badly this kind of approach to things could go.
Yeah, I feel like we're a long ways off from there, but that's something that we can put on the list of things to have happen before the series
potential
ends.
checkbox of okay.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so, Rin, backstory. Hatsuharu, you legend. You are wise beyond your years, but not only that, the fact that you were lucky enough, she was lucky enough, you both were lucky enough to be there for each other is wonderful. I love the way in which he's used as a frame of reference for the, no, I want you. There is someone that wants you. And this is such a simple but wonderful thing, that it doesn't really take necessarily some super complex, thing in order to give someone a feeling of safety or love or what have you. Just one genuine relationship. It doesn't have to even be a great one. Just a simple one. Just one that takes her on walks every once in a while. It shows up and just says, hey, let's do some stuff together. Do you want some whatever that stuff was on the stick?
The Odin or whatever.
It's like, okay, He's not taking her to therapy. He's not doing anything professional. He's just being there. And he's not trying to put on any kind of, pretense about it. That's probably the thing that's so wonderfully refreshing about Hatsuharu compared to the other Somas in general, is that he has his two modes. Or one is basically just extreme version of the other mode, which is just, I state what I'm thinking. That's about it.
Because as far as like character shticks with the Soma members that were introduced earlier in the show, the white and black Haru, that was the one that I was like,
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Fine.
Why not?
That's a decision, you know, I suppose, right? You know, but it, you know, I was not a fan of it, shall we say, right?
It's just a shtick.
It's just a shtick, you know, right?
Yeah.
And you know, it fits great with Haru's design and everything, right? But I cannot believe that I never made the connection of no. It's not to show him being edgy or whatever, right? No, it's because maybe there were circumstances, and whether the situation with Rin is where it started or not, who knows, where he very much needed that.
Yep.
Right? It was very helpful.
Yep.
If he hadn't confronted the parents that way, I don't think they actually would have abandoned her. They might not have. Not right away. Because...
Oh, no. The second they walked through the door, they were like, that's okay, we don't want you. Like,
I suppose.
So I think.
Oh no! Yeah. They said that, and he confronted them on it.
That's why he. Yeah. Exactly.
Right. It's the because the parents were basically people that weren't able to be honest with themselves, right? About their own feelings with regards to certain things, and so they weren't able to say like show their own vulnerabilities to their child. So then it just ends up building up and turning into something unbelievably awful and nasty, right?
And then they snap.
Right?
Yeah.
And then suddenly it's something where it has control of them, right? And then, you need to cut that shit away, right? Like, so the fact that they, you know, abandoned her there,
you're so thankful.
I am so thankful.
Yeah.
Like, because
so many other situations in real life and in stories and what have you, where there's abuse going on, the abusers cling to their abusee, if you will.
Like how Akito does.
Basically, where it's that feeling that reinforces their position of power, and it's sick and it's fucked. And the thing is that they actively get enjoyment out of this to the point where they couldn't actually stop or try to distance themselves in any way because they are reviled by the person. No, it's this cyclical thing. Yeah.
And that's why, in addition to all the wonderful characterization that we got for Rin this episode, I think this was actually also one of the best examples of characterization that we've gotten for Akito so far in the show.
Sure.
Because up until now, we knew that he was possessive for sure, right?
Yeah,
we knew that
they were his zodiac.
They were his subjects, basically,
his subjects,
right?
Yeah.
But
his possessions, as he said here.
Right, exactly. But the fact that he specifically said possessions, right, and that in combination with the whole thing of trying to figure out how to break the curse, and the idea that no, Akito is not someone who wants to break the curse. No. Up until now, I thought it was something where Akito is the example of someone who is also subject to the curse, and maybe he had felt like, you know, like, now granted, I didn't think about that too much after the reveal happened that he was the god figure rather than just like one of the other Zodiac members that like happens to be the head of the house.
I think that was one of the things that I brought up, but it was more along the lines of him not necessarily wanting to figure something out of the curse, or is something that's so unknowable you just kind of have to roll with it. But it's that the curse was something that was like the trying to fix it had already been done. It's the thing
exactly.
Where I've been down that road.
Right. That Akito is basically in despair.
Right.
And then that's why he ends up being basically a cautionary tale for the other Zodiacs, and why Toru is so important, because she's hope, right? So then she comes in, and the person who's despairing is like, no, get out of here. I've been burned by that before. And that's why that's where
Akito
I figured
hates
it was
women.
Sure, but I figured that was going to be something where that was how Akito would basically be reached, right? And then when they all have been given the chance to heal, then it's Akito's turn as the last one to leave the sinking ship, basically.
Right.
And then that's how it could happen. But with this is something very different. Like, and while I'm sure that Akito also has his own way that he got twisted to be the way that he is now, right? You know, the whole I hate, you know, women, right? That's a very specific pointed thing, you know, not just I hate people or I hate when Zodiacs try and be their own selves or whatever.
No, it's something that feels like a very like
he has mommy issues kind of thing.
A deep wound, something like that, because I was thinking that the person that we saw with Kureno was Akito's mom. Now it seems that it might have been implying that was actually Rin's parent, mom, or something like that. We don't know what's going on there exactly.
Right, yeah.
But I feel like what it is on Akito's level, in terms of the characterization that we got here, is that Akito is the embodiment of, like, hatred and despair, and the combination that comes from those two. If you're in despair, basically, because you are maybe so powerful but also powerless, like you are capable of all this, but you still remain here.
So you cling to the things that you do have direct control over.
Right, exactly. You hold tightly to it. Therefore, the hatred is directed to, it's indiscriminate. It's directed at yourself, and it's directed at all other things that do anything remotely to the thing that you can control. So I get the vibe in general that Akito understands on some level that there is maybe a way that the curse could be broken, but it would have to come basically from the element of letting go, like some element of that.
Okay, sure.
Like some
aspect
of that. And I kind of gotten the vibe a little bit that Akito, not like incel hate women kind of thing,
right,
but more like the Akito is like, how do I say this? Like Akito feels like there is a stereotypical image in Akito's mind of what women are supposed to be.
Okay.
And basically fiercely reinforces that. And it's almost like a vibe like I've gotten just in general that Akito in general is just very effeminate, like just very like just very feminine in general.
Okay.
But also has this like fierce level of like self-hatred maybe as well.
Well, yeah, I feel like the hatred that he dishes out on everyone else around him in the Somas in particular is because he has a lot of self-hatred, and that's why he doesn't want to see them happy or things like that.
Sure.
Like if it is, assuming it's not the thing of he doesn't want the curse to be broken because he directly benefits from it kind of a thing, because I feel like that's a lot less complex when it comes to then getting into who Akito is and like dealing with him as an antagonist, you know?
Yeah.
But it still could totally be that. But if it's not that, then what I see it being is that he despaired, and the despair was allowed to ferment so long. Like, not just he's in despair and so that he doesn't like when Toto comes along, but he despaired so much, and whether this is because it was a despair that was also maybe passed on to him by his parents or his mother, or, you know, or who knows.
Sure, yeah.
Now it's something where it's the only thing that I value is that I keep everyone down here with me in this despair, right? In this sad, you know, the sad little king of a sad little hill kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Because he's convinced that that's all he has, right? And so anytime someone comes along to basically take that away, he reacts vehemently. Now, that's interesting if that's the case, because he did also do the potential permanent casting away of one of his possessions.
Yeah.
Now, and that's...
Yeah, exactly.
That feels odd. Now,
it feels very odd.
Now, it might be something where he just does that because it's there's plenty of them, I can afford to, you know? And
sure.
And like, he truly despises them. So as a result of that, he's like, and maybe, who knows, it struck a chord something with him, and so then he's like, I have to get rid of this thing that reminds me of myself, you know, or I don't know, and so then he's like, I'm going to permanently get rid of you, right? He pushes her off the ledge.
I'm getting a vibe here. I'm realizing that there's a couple like disparate little things about Akito that start to paint a picture border of like a puzzle here. I think Akito had hope. And it was in the form of a person.
Okay.
It was in the form of a person.
Right,
it was actually like a person that gave him hope. And some aspect of Reen's not being wanted was what he recognized here.
Sure. Okay.
And that despair, that pathetic thing that he basically kind of verbalized towards her was something that the reason why he understood it so quickly without any context.
He really zeroed in on it. Like, I know that he's good at doing his manipulator thing,
right?
But like, this was another.
This was next level. So what I think it is that Rin's situation was actually one more specific to Akito's as well.
Gotcha.
The idea of being rejected or unwanted. But what if it's not a typical parent kind of thing? What if it's a relationship kind of thing? And that's why Akito doesn't want anyone else to be happy. No relationships at all. I don't know. That's kind of on the incel side of things.
Yeah, it's kind of on the incel side of things. And I think that could happen. The reason, though, why I don't think that's the case is that Akito, and we've seen him a bit in the past, like when Yuki was like a little kid and Akito was still doing this kind of like, stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I get the feeling that this is something that has been Akito's whole existence, right? He's so good at it and he's so latched onto it. Like it is deeply etched into like the core of who he's decided he is.
Right. The response, I can't get inside the mind of Akito and understand why his response would be this extreme to all this stuff. I'm just trying to connect it from a semi-logical perspective of, are these things related to each other? And I feel like they have to be for Akito's character to be one that will have that same kind of moment we've had with almost every character thus far.
Where it's like,
that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
And I feel like for Akito's here, it could just be a number of things. Sometimes you have like a Spider-Man 2 year or what have you, where everything just goes wrong. Just raindrops keep falling off.
Yeah.
It's just bad. But I feel like Akito's is one that also has to come from that sense of like simple brokenness that leads to the downward spiral.
Right, exactly. Like he's been on this journry for a long time.
Right.
No one is going to change this anytime soon. And that's why I think it has to be something that has to, but like I feel like it makes the most sense for it to go back to some kind of parent situation.
Okay.
Because that way this has been his whole life, for the most part.
Think about it on the meta level, though. There's a reason why I think it can't just be the parent side of things there.
Right.
And that's because what is the other main throughput storyline going on here?
A love story.
So Akito's problem, in my opinion, has to be on the side of love. That can be parental-child love, but I feel like we're covering that so much with every other character that can't be all of it for Akito. Akito has to have something that's unique. And I think the part that's not necessarily unique, but something that almost felt too easy for Akito to understand was this idea of being unwanted, rejected, and thrown out.
Yeah.
And Akito experiencing that makes sense on some level, but combining that with the idea that Rin also has someone that wants her.
Right.
That's what saved her.
Well, okay, so
really, like she still has all this shit she's dealing with right now. She's not just healed or whatever.
But she's dealing with it. She is healing, right?
Well, she is healing, but she is
it's
still
a long process.
She is still traumatized by that whole experience.
That whole bit where she goes in and she sees Toru. And then she starts freaking out.
Her maybe mother or adopted mother.
Yeah, and I want to talk about that whole thing.
Yeah, we will.
But that scene was it was very good at doing its job.
Yeah. Oh God, the stuff with the doll and her being visualized in some way as a possession, as a thing that they had.
Yep.
Like she said, a stone that doesn't feel anything.
And the buttons for eyes.
Yeah.
That felt very
the doll being torn apart in a later image. The ways in which she would like come up to the house and
that was the part that felt the most like, that's
real.
Yep. Of the what mood are they in, right? Of never knowing what you're going to get.
Yeah.
Right? Because
But okay. So she goes to Shigure. She's like, hey, I need to know. Do you know anything about this? And you're like, hey, what if that were true? Do you think I'd disclose something that'd trouble Akito-san?
Hey, your shtick is liking little girls, right? I will give you myself. Come on. No, I don't know. Oh, okay.
Yeah. And No, he's not, like, you don't have any idea who Shigure is. This is the part that felt like Shigure was trying to almost
help her by being like
help her by being like,
stay far away from me, honey.
Don't come to me for help.
Like, I am walking the path of blood. You know, like, you're still young. You know, like,
I am the worst person here.
Well,
like, I am probably I would say using the three main characters as tools.
Yep.
To get things resolved with Akito.
And Shigure straight up feels like the Count of Monte Cristo or something to me.
Yes,
like,
absolutely.
Like, given that we had Rin getting pushed out of...
he cares more than anybody. Really.
Right. But given that we had Rin being pushed off of, you know, a balcony, right? I think she's lucky to be alive. She's
really lucky to be alive.
She is absolutely lucky to be alive.
Or at the very least, like, walking.
Yeah, that too. Like,
I think
they literally had the stone there that, like, her head landed on and everything. Right?
No, her back.
Her back. Oh, okay.
That's where the scar was.
Ah, that's right.
They drew special attention to it.
Yes, good point. Yeah. But with Shigure, I feel like he's the situation where, and I don't know if this necessarily would have been Akito, because Akito is rather young, but I feel like Shigure is the situation where it's the, no, they died. Like Akito actually killed somebody, right? Because we know he has no problem doing the thing that could very easily kill somebody, right? So someone else wasn't lucky, basically, and now Shigure's like, fine, that's why I'm on the warpath, you know, and whatever happens, I don't particularly care, because it's not just to stop this from happening again, I'm also avenging somebody.
It's personal. And that's where things I could see got, like, really fucked between Shigure and Akito, is that maybe on some level there was something that they shared, and then they lost it. It could have been, a third person, basically, that was caught in the middle of the two of them, maybe.
Sure, yeah. There is that part of me that's like, Akito is very delusional, or really hopped up on the high of dominating the people around him.
Yeah.
That if whatever happened with, say, Shigure and stuff, he still, to an extent, trusts Shigure a lot.
In a weird way, I think that's implied, but I also think Shigure's trying to bring up the point of, I'm not, like...
Right.
I don't have anything really special.
Yeah.
What are these favorites you talk about?
Yeah,
you know?
Rin still went to him because she's like, I think you're close to Akito, you could know something, but at the same time, you know, he doesn't know anything. So, you know...
But he's definitely also hiding something.
He's definitely hiding something, and he's definitely playing the part for Akito whenever possible. So that could add to the reasoning of why Akito might kind of trust him.
I feel like this is the point where we've now had so much foreshadowing, specifically with regards to Shigure, with regards to Akito, with regards to kind of the general direction of the story, that it would almost be prudent of us to kind of go and skim through, like, the show again, like, up to where we're at, and get that, like, oh, these things now stand out a little bit more.
Right, it's hard to do foreshadowing in a show with 65 episodes or whatever, you know, or, like, you know, some large amount of episodes, and still like keep those smaller bits of foreshadowing from, like, 10 episodes earlier.
In memory.
You know?
Exactly. And sometimes it's not even that they were specifically foreshadowing, but they were elements to restrict the characterization of a character onto a specific path, so that when you give the full characterization of them, you know it's going to be somewhere in this vein. And then you go, as expected, of course it tracks, does. That tracks. And you didn't necessarily remember every single little thing, but you knew that, oh, these are the aspects or the core tenets of Shigure, and these are things that Shigure does not fuck with. You know,
exactly
that area there.
Something else that I have to mention. So, and this is me appreciating something that was, that I think is a pitfall that was avoided. Having a character like Rin that comes into a story and basically is hyper antagonistic to the main character, that is something that, from a meta standpoint, adds a lot of conflict, right? It's tension, it's exciting, you want to see what happens, what's the mystery there? But I feel like a lot of the times in stories, when I see that happen, it's something that is done for the immediate effect, but then when I end up getting the realization of why, it doesn't feel like it makes sense. It doesn't land, right?
There's basically an extremity that's brought into it for the sake of
dramatic emphasis or whatever.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
But like with this, I'm like, oh no,
like they went all the way to the point where it's like, oh, it was this bad?
Yeah, Reen's been doing great with Toru, actually, up till this point. You know, like, oh, she was able to interact with her this much. Way to go, you know?
Right. If anything, it's like in this episode, we're realizing how extreme it is, and that it might have even been toned down a little bit because we weren't seeing things from Reen's perspective back then.
Right.
It was from the outside looking in.
Well,
and
she
didn't
also
make as much sense.
She also removed herself from the situation a lot.
Very quickly.
Right? Which is like, oh, that totally makes sense. Yeah, it's not just her character being mysterious because we don't want to get into that yet. No, it's because she's aware enough to realize, I am not in full control of myself right now. I need to distance myself, right? You're doing the thing that basically your parents never learned how to do.
Yep.
Right? Because
God.
Because if her parents were just like completely awful people that like didn't have any love for their daughter at any point, that would be easier to deal with.
Yeah.
But it's the fact that they did. The fact that they were able to say, we love you. And at some point they meant it.
Yeah, even if it was a lie then, we don't know when it shifted from being a... You know, because things aren't so black and white.
Right, exactly.
It's feelings that aren't allowed to be processed become like a smell. Like it's a rotten smell. It's like bad meat. Meat and like good food is like one of the most wonderful smells in the world. But if you don't cook it, if you don't process it, if you don't utilize it, it just sits there and it goes bad.
Yeah, you mentioned downward spirals earlier, and I feel like it's you can be on a downward spiral in a specific aspect of your life or your mind.
Sure.
Right? It doesn't have to dominate everything.
No.
And if you do a good job on everything else, you might not realize it. Yep. You might be able to sort of turn a blind eye. You're like, it's not that bad, right?
True.
And then suddenly you realize, oh no, it's
really bad.
Right? And I feel like that's what the situation was with her parents. But at the same time, are you up for talking about the mystery person that showed up?
I kind of have some other things I want to bring up first. Okay. But yeah, I'd be fine with going into it a little bit here and just not go into too much.
We don't know exactly who this person is, but we're pretty sure that it's the same person that Karena was talking to a couple episodes back. And the context of how they were shown in this episode is very strange.
Very strange,
because she was saying to, or they were saying, I guess, to Reen, your mommy and daddy love you very much. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
And actually, it wasn't even it was like mom and dad love you very much.
Yeah, let me bring it up again.
Right. Which made me wonder for a bit if it was like an older sibling or something where they like have the same parents, you know? But then Reen says back to this person, I love you, mommy and daddy. Now, that could have been something where she was saying that because this person basically helped / influenced her to say that, and that's why we're seeing her say that when she is with this other person, you know?
Oh, yeah. So they say, what a happy home. Don't you think, Izuzu-chan? Now, that, I would say, it implies a couple things. I believe Izuzu is first name. So
right.
That's I believe
because Soma then is the last name. Yeah.
Well, right, but the weird thing is that Soma, everyone calls her Reen.
Right.
So calling her Izuzu also feels kind of formally different.
I feel like Reen is probably like the nickname that she has among her friends, right? And then her parents, of course, call her by her first name. You know.
Right, but no one calls anybody Soma because. Well,
right.
Because that's a clan name. That's not that's not an actual like family.
Yeah, and
name.
I think they might have even like addressed how that wasn't even able to be done in like Toru's situation and everybody else, because since there's multiple people that have the last name of Soma, of Kyo and Yuki, right, that just doesn't really work. You know, you can't do that in conversation and have it still make sense.
Right. Now, some people would still do it.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
That has happened in the show, but the fact that they say, "What a happy home," don't you think, Izuzu-chan? It almost felt to me like a parent handing off their child to be adopted into another family.
Yeah.
The weird thing, though, is that typically when that happens, the child is not necessarily thrilled about the idea of leaving a parent, especially if they're older.
Yep.
Now, then we show both the mom and dad in question here,
who look nothing like Rin, by the way.
Yes, have like, literally no physical
yeah. And this other person, even though we haven't seen their face, their hair is very dark, you know, and like so it's like, okay, that's a similarity.
Yeah, and it says both dad and mom love you so much, Izuzu-chan. Okay, and yeah, I love you too, daddy and mommy.
Looking at the person with the black hair.
Looking at one person as well.
Yeah, yeah. Like what's the deal here, right? Like there's I think we're setting up some things as well to where we could have a character that actually has some aspects of occupying both typical gender roles, basically. I could totally see that being something that happens. I could also see it being something where she was constantly talking about how it felt like a play, you know? That it's the parents aren't deem themselves incapable of raising their child. So they do something where they have the child be raised by someone else.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. These people seem perfect for the job, right?
Right.
And also this could be one of the reasons why they didn't end up having a problem abandoning her after too long. But it's okay, yeah, they'll do their job, they'll do a really good job, and maybe they genuinely want to help this kid. They're like, yeah, no, we totally get it. That kind of stuff happens in families in the clan. We got you. This will be great, right? And so we're going to do everything we can to try and make it perfect so that you don't have to think about the fact that you were kind of abandoned, right? Now, it could be something where it's not being brought up because it's still something that is very much a repressed memory for Rin, or maybe Rin doesn't even fully remember, right? It could have been like a birth adoption or something like that, right?
Yeah, and this is her representation of what it must have been like.
Right, and this is just
play. So
and maybe this is just a really nice person that she's still in touch with, that is actually her her biological parent, but she doesn't know that. But if it's since she has such issues with abandonment, right? I feel like if she knows that she was given up by this person, that it would have been relevant enough to bring up in this episode. So the fact that it didn't makes me think that it's not that, but if it's not that, I don't know what it would be, because it really feels like it's pointing at this person being her actual biological parent.
Yeah. And that's just a really cool mystery.
Yeah.
To kind of leave open for future stuff.
Uh-huh.
But oh my god, the ways in which they showed the emotion in Rin as she was experiencing them abandoning her, and her desperation to be wanted and taken back by them, even though they did all this shit to her. And Haru calling them out, understandably giving her a lot of, emotional attachment to Haru at that moment, because he did something amazing there.
Right.
But the ways in which they fell in love, the ways in which she was scared of swallowing him up with her pain and emotions, to the point where she was worried that if she did go into this, that he would ultimately have to reject her, leave her, and she
doesn't know what she would do. And the thing is, and I wonder if they'll get into this, but now Haru is enough of a badass that I feel like this might end up not being too much of a problem.
Right.
But these are another form of feelings that are being bottled up, Rin, because you're not being honest with yourself about how this makes you feel. You're not being honest with your partner about it necessarily. So this could also cause problems if you don't accept that you have this fear, accept that you love him this much, you know, all of those.
And this was in
things.
the past, so
right,
we've gone
exactly.
since then.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And
yeah.
And then
Akito.
we get Akito.
And of course she tells him that she was the one who started it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, one thing we forgot to mention with Akito with regards to his
hatred of women,
hinted characterization, and this is exactly why I despise women. So devious. But then the next thing he says is, and that slithering black hair you drag around makes me sick.
So maybe it's something where the other lady is actually Akito's mom, and she reminds him of his mom.
Maybe,
you know,
like some aspect of this being like something where the visual representation of Rin actually reminds Akito
and
of something
that's why
someone.
he ended up pushing her off the balcony. Yeah, I could definitely see that.
Because I just want to bring this up. I don't think Akito necessarily wanted to murder her here.
Yeah, certainly not in like a premeditated way at the very least.
Well, no. I don't think.
Well, okay. I mean, want to murder, right? Like,
that doesn't have to be premeditated to have it want to be murdered.
Yeah,
what I'm bringing up here is just the idea that of all the how would I describe this? Of all the times where we've seen Akito lose control here, this felt actually more like Akito saw this as like a victory or something.
Yeah, this felt
like he came to a realization of something right here.
Right.
And he's like, oh, yes, I see. Yes, you. Yeah.
This felt a lot more cold, weirdly enough, than like the situation with Hattori, where with that, we didn't really see the build up to it. You know, we just know that like they went to ask for his blessing and then he freaks out and like, you know, Hattori loses his eye, right?
Right.
But with this was like...
Wait,
this was...
Hatsuhara is what you're talking about.
No.
Hattori.
Hattori.
Yeah,
Hatsuharu is her boyfriend.
Right.
Hattori, the doctor. You know. Yeah.
Okay.
But in this situation, it was something where like he was taking his time with it. He was like drinking in the fact that he was doing this. You know, like he started off with a backhand slap, and it's like if that had been something more violent, then I would have been like, okay, that feels a lot more like an outburst. But that was more of just like the, I want to sort of. That's more a power play than anything, right? It's the I have control over you. I can violate your space and your person, and you will not do anything to stop me, right? And now I'm going to go into what I actually want to do, right? And then he starts to verbally take her apart, and then he has this realization, and then he decides to push her.
Yeah. But in this moment, she's thinking, oh, I was happy.
Yeah. If I do die here.
Yeah. Then I'll free you. That's enough. It's your turn to be happy, Haru. I'll free you from me.
Because she
from Akito.
Yeah.
I want to free you from everything that ties you down. Haru, your true happiness lies beyond here.
And that's probably the biggest lesson that she had to learn is that you're not a weight that he's tied down to. That's the trauma of her parents, basically, that still lingers around in there like a time bomb or something.
You're worthless.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
You made everything worse by existing.
No, he's being selfish. Maybe, just maybe. Maybe he always was. You know.
Like I'm so like this is the weird thing. There's so much trauma in this story, right? And yet, I love how hopeful this makes me.
Yeah.
I don't know how to describe it, but like when you end an episode with her having this transcendental moment where she's believing that she's going to do everything to save Haru while she's potentially about to die.
Yep.
Like, there's something so pure in it, even though it's based in a lot of her trauma, that has me so excited for the culmination of all these arcs that characters are, like, the individual characters are going on, to reach a conclusion where, oh, they're actually going to, like, they're actually going to be resolved. Like, this story ends, and not only does it end, I'm going to watch it end. That already, like, is blowing my mind. But just that in this moment here, I feel like we set up even more a lot of the things that are going to be the downfall of Akito.
I think so.
Pun not intended at all, sorry.
I mean, it doesn't have to be. We could have an actual fall for Akito.
I mean,
I wouldn't mind it.
I know, Jacob, but I
know.
Like,
I'm fantasizing when I do that.
I feel like
I'm not actually.
Yeah, I feel like at this point here, we've given enough keys to Akito's like, you know, necrotic, scarred, dead inside heart or whatever there is in there, and it's like, whose key is going to open that door and be like, come out here, like, it's okay. You're and that moment is going to be just the most God,
it's going to be a thing.
We thought Kyo's inner monster was bad, like the scared basically boy, you know, trapped inside the monsters, trapped inside the
because the thing is,
posturing teen, you know,
right? I feel like with Akito, it's going to be something where, I don't mean this literally. Akito does need to die. I also believe that literally.
I get what you're saying.
But that basically it's something where there is so little of whoever Akito was before all this happened to him or whatever, that basically he is going to almost burn away completely, I think, once he is brought out into the light, you know?
It's like someone shedding basically like a persona, like a false skin.
Like it's gonna be like almost like some vampire level stuff, right? And then the question is
what'll be left?
Right. Will there be a chance at basically rebirth as someone completely new?
Sure, there might not.
There might not. You know, who knows, right? And but that would be
sometimes, you know.
That is very much true, you know. But like, what would be a greater victory, right? Like, because you know, even though I can't see the path to that, when I think of like the biggest possible win for this show, right, and for everything Toru represents, is that Toru grows one, yes, but that Akito, even someone like Akito, somehow, some way. And the more they do this stuff, the harder it is to do this because you can't trivialize any of the stuff that came before.
Right.
But that somehow Akito gets reached.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like...
But I don't have any idea.
I feel like the reality that this show goes into is that no one really gets what they deserve in life.
And sometimes that's a good thing, and sometimes that's
a good thing, and sometimes that's a bad thing. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's indiscriminate.
Yep.
It's an aspect that, on some level, is, I would say, mostly negative. It's mostly negative.
Yeah. Sometimes it's positive.
There's a lot of people that are abusers in power that do not get what they deserve.
Right, and that's why you know, again, the whole thing with Reen's parents having a conclusion like that feels so wonderful for me, because a lot of the times you don't get nice, happy, dramatic endings in like you get in stories. That doesn't happen in real life. It just sort of continues.
It just sits there
and festers more. Yeah. Right.
But oh my god, the fact that we went through this entire episode and we actually had Toru be involved in it just for the slightest little bit, and all she did was hug Reen during this whole thing is beautiful. But I also really want to... I really want to, like, throw an idea out here. What if this was the closest we've ever gotten to the truest idea of what Shigure is doing as well?
Okay.
Shigure was given recontextual... Okay. So we saw a scene in its full context that we had previously only seen a little bit of.
Oh, of when she went to Shigure.
Right.
Yeah.
Where was everybody at that moment?
I I don't know, but they were
I
out
need
of
to
the
go
house.
back and check
like,
that
Like she
episode.
waited until everyone was gone.
Right. But
I think it was the trip, the beach trip. Because he waited, because he took a while to go there.
So then, how long was it while she was there until Toru showed up and hugged her? Because what I feel like is being set up here in some ways...
I think those are two different scenes.
Oh, are they two different scenes?
Maybe I have it wrong, but...
Maybe I'm there's
when Shigure tells her, I don't know what it is, and then there's the times that she's basically searching there to see if she can find some clue.
Well, okay, so because of the way it's cut, okay, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
No, you're right, because the outfit is
oh yeah, the outfit's different.
The outfit is completely different. So I forgot to look at the way in which they had feathered in the flashback, you know, effect, so that we could tell that that's, you know, from the previous scene. But then we have her in completely different outfit.
Yep.
And I also want to I want to bring up something that I thought was a rather small detail, but I'm like, if we go into the discussion this far, maybe I'll bring it up. But when she's talking about being scared, she has the belt around her leg that has a thing on it.
Oh.
I said, I wonder if Gurani...
That's a buckle.
Okay, I wonder if people who live like Gurani fear anything in life.
Right.
Right? Mm-hmm. And that was like oh, damn, okay. But the way they chose this kind of bit to focus here, I guess that is a buckle.
Right, like it's something where
yeah, never mind.
There are a few things that come to mind when those sorts of shots happen in anime. One is that it's like a fan servicey type shot.
I don't think it's that. I think it's just to show that she's getting back up.
Right. Yeah, it's the act of herself standing back up, even though she then afterwards falls over. So it's like it's showing that some of that internal will and resolve and, you know, inner strength, you know?
Right. And that she's very much struggles to overcome it.
Right. And when she falls, she like passes out. Like, you know, it's bad. Also, gotta say, and I don't mean this from a fan servicey perspective, but the characters in Fruits Basket oftentimes have very stylish outfits, and that's a really cool outfit that Rin has on. Like it's a cool outfit.
Yeah.
But yeah,
now, when she says, I need to find a way to end this, I need to find a way to put an end to it all, she's talking about basically this for Haru's sake.
Right, breaking the curse.
Doing what she can, so she's dedicated, she's focused in this. But when Toru finds her, and she basically thinks she's about to get, you know, hurt.
Right.
Here. Man, there's just this feeling I have that's anytime Toru is the one that's basically shown in just the purest way to be that example of love, be just that the good side of her spirit, of her heart, and everything that she is, and she just is that. She's very simple. She doesn't try to like think about, oh, what must they be thinking or all that. Right. Just Toru is at her simplest self, just trying to be there for somebody. That's wonderful. But the way she was almost like drowned out by the memory and the trauma and the PTSD of all this that Rin's gone through, and yet then when we see her again, it's Shigure finding them, and she's still holding on to her. Right? I really hope that gets followed up on. Because that was something...
Like that directly or like thematically?
Directly. Like okay. Just the idea that Toru doesn't need to have some perfect... Like to combine this with Haru, she doesn't need to have the perfect answer or be the professional help or be anything like that. She just needs to be there for people.
Right.
And that's how powerful she is. That's that's the thing that Shigure sees in her.
Okay.
And that's what's been, in some ways, warping dramatically the lives of those three boys at the house. And I want that to be gone into from Reen's perspective, if she's able to then separate a little bit Toru from her mother.
Yeah, and given that she ended up, like, Toru hugged her, and eventually it was able to be a thing that was okay, right? I'm very optimistic about Reen and Toru being able to have a very awesome, good connection.
Sure.
Despite the troubles and difficulties and complications for it.
Right.
But, yeah. This episode was... I loved it.
Yeah.
It was wonderful.
Yeah.
It was hard. It was uncomfortable. But, like...
But God, it did such a good job.
Yeah, because we get to see the characters struggling against it and stuff. And I feel like the times when I had, like, the most difficult of a time with Fruits Basket would be, like, when the things were more, like, being, like, introduced and such, that this was an ongoing issue, and the characters themselves, because it was still early, Toru hadn't helped them heal as much yet, they didn't have that same level of, like, fight in them, I feel like, you know? That made me feel like, yes, this is definitely going to be okay. You know, it's hard now, but, you know, we're moving in a good direction. Or maybe it was just the fact that, like, this was a flashback, or I don't know, but yeah.
But oh man, what an episode, what a show, and thank you all so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you stay for the whole discussion, you're awesome. Thank you so much. And if you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get an early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there, and all this comes with Discord access, so you can chat with us in the community there about this show, about anime in general, and also be sure to check out our Twitch channel.
We stream every weekday. The info's in the description.
Yeah, so if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all
next time.